Welcome to the His Eternal Word podcast. I am your host, Rebekah Collins, and the purpose of this podcast is to read the Bible from beginning to end every single year. If that mission sounds interesting to you, I'd encourage you to grab your Bible and read along with me. On today's episode, we are going to be exploring the chapters of Genesis 26 through 29. So we're going to pick up with chapter 26, God's promise to Isaac. Now there was a famine in the land, besides the former famine that was in the days of Abraham. And Isaac went to Gerar to Abimelech, king of the Philistines. And the Lord appeared to him and said, "Do not go down to Egypt. Dwell in the land of which I shall tell you. Sojourn in this land, and I will be with you and will bless you. For to you and to your offspring I will give all these lands. And I will establish the oath that I swore to Abraham your father. I will multiply your offspring as the stars of heaven and will give to your offspring all these lands. And in your offspring all the nations of the earth shall be blessed. Because Abraham obeyed my voice and kept my charge, my commandments, my statutes, and my laws." Isaac and Abimelech. So Isaac settled in Gerar. When the men of the place asked him about his wife, he said, "She is my sister." For he feared to say, "my wife," thinking, lest the men of the place should kill me because of Rebekah, because she was attractive in appearance. When he had been there a long time, Abimelech, king of the Philistines, looked out of a window and saw Isaac laughing with Rebekah, his wife. So Abimelech called Isaac and said, "Behold, she is your wife. How then could you say, 'She is my sister'?" Isaac said to him, "Because I thought, lest I die because of her." Abimelech said, "What is this you have done to us? One of the people might easily have lain with your wife, and you would have brought guilt upon us." So Abimelech warned all the people, saying, "Whoever touches this man or his wife shall surely be put to death." And Isaac sowed in that land and reaped in the same year 100-fold. The Lord blessed him, and the man became rich and gained more and more until he became very wealthy. He had possessions of flocks and herds and many servants, so that the Philistines envied him. Now the Philistines had stopped and filled with earth all the wells that his father's servants had dug in the days of Abraham, his father. And Abimelech said to Isaac, "Go away from us, for you are much mightier than we." So Isaac departed from there and encamped in the valley of Gerar and settled there. And Isaac dug again the wells of water that had been dug in the days of Abraham his father, which the Philistines had stopped after the death of Abraham. Then he gave them the names that his father had given them. But when Isaac's servants dug in the valley and found there a well of spring water, the herdsmen of Gerar quarreled with Isaac's herdsmen, saying, "The water is ours." So he called the name of the well Eshek, because they contended with him. Then they dug another well, and they quarreled over that also. So he called it Sitnah. And he moved from there and dug another well, and they did not quarrel over it. So he called its name Rehoboth, saying, "For the Lord has made room for us, and we shall be fruitful in the land." And from there he went up to Beersheba. The Lord appeared to him the same night and said, "I am the God of Abraham your father. Fear not. For I am with you, and will bless you, and multiply your offspring for your servant Abraham's sake." So he built an altar there, and called upon the name of the Lord, and pitched his tent there. And there Isaac's servants dug a well. When Abimelech went to him from Gerar with Ahuzah his advisor, and Phicol the commander of his army, Isaac said to them, "Why have you come to me, seeing that you hate me and have sent me away from you?" They said, "We see plainly that the Lord has been with you." So we said, "Let there be a sworn pact between us, between you and us, and let us make a covenant with you, that you will do us no harm, just as we have not touched you and have not done to you nothing but good, and have sent you away in peace. You are now the blessed of the Lord." So he made them a feast, and they ate and drank. In the morning they rose early and exchanged oaths, and Isaac sent them on their way, and they departed from him in peace. That same day, Isaac's servants came and told him about the well that they had dug and said to him, "We have found water." He called it Sheba. Therefore, the name of the city is Beersheba to this day. When Esau was 40 years old, he took Judith, the daughter of Beeri the Hittite, to be his wife, and Basmath, the daughter of Elon the Hittite, and they made life bitter for Isaac and Rebekah. So, chapter 26. I first want to start with chapter 26, and I want to go down to verse 3, where God is talking to Isaac. And he's telling him to sojourn in the land because God will be with him and will bless him. For to you and your offspring I will give these lands, and I will establish the oath that I swore to Abraham your father. I will multiply your offspring as the stars of heaven, and will give to your offspring all these lands. And your offspring of all the nations of the earth shall be blessed, because Abraham obeyed my voice and kept my charge, my commandments, my statutes, and my laws. I'm sure you guys are tired of me saying it, but it just rings true so much in the Word of God that you have to obey God's commands, not only for yourself, but for those after you. Isaac is literally reaping the benefits of God being with him and God protecting him because Abraham obeyed God's voice. Because Abraham really obeyed God's voice and kept the commandments of God, his son is being blessed. And again, it's very important that as humans, we value God and his commandments and his statutes, his laws, his decrees, everything that comes out of the mouth of God. We value it. Again, if you don't want to do it for yourself, or you find that you yourself in your life is not a strong enough motivator, always think about the fact that this is something that will ultimately trickle down to your children, and they can be blessed because of your obedience. The next thing that I want to go down to is going to be verses 6 through 8, where we see Isaac following in the footsteps of Abraham and saying that Rachel is his sister. It's one of those things where, because you can tell, even though it's not explicitly stated in the Bible, you can almost tell that Abraham was talking to Isaac and recounting stories to him about their travels throughout the world. And this was a story that Abraham told Isaac, because it is verbatim the exact same thing, the exact same half-truth that he told, that Abraham told, is the exact same line that Isaac is running, and he's running it to Abimelech, which ironically was also one of the people that Abraham told this exact same story to. And I know that my version of the Bible says that the Philistines looked out the window and saw Isaac laughing with Rebekah, his wife, but it doesn't literally mean laughing. The footnote says a Hebrew may suggest an intimate relationship. And so they must have caught them being intimate in a manner that says that speaks to the fact that this is not something that you would do with your sister. And that's really where Abimelech was upset and angry. Admittedly, rightfully so, because as Abimelech states, someone in his family or one of his people could have touched her and taken her as his wife, and a lot of other things could have happened that would have been unnecessary had Isaac told just the complete truth. And so we've already kind of touched on this with Abraham's story. So I'm not going to go down there and go down that route again. We can just see that the same way the blessings flow from father to son, we can see that the same lies and the same disposition to not necessarily telling the full truth is something that also ran in the family as well. And so moving right along, we can see throughout the rest of the chapter that essentially Isaac is working to get some wells going, since the wells that Abraham built and established in his time were stopped up. And so Isaac is now going and trying to build a well for his people. But what I really want to focus in on is going to be verse 34, where the story kind of stops with Isaac for just a few verses and it dips into his son Esau. So we know that when Esau was 40 years old, he took a couple of wives, and the Bible tells us that these wives were making life bitter for Isaac and Rebekah. And I believe that the Bible put this in here because we can see that if we think back about Abraham, wherever Abraham was, he didn't want Isaac to get a wife from that place. And that's why Abraham sent his servant to go to a different place back where Abraham was from and get a wife from there. But yet we see that Isaac's son, Esau, gets a wife from amongst the people that they're living in. And as a result of that, the Bible is letting us know that they made life bitter for Isaac and Rebekah. And so it seems to be a bit of foreshadowing about intermarrying with the people that they're living amongst. And we'll hopefully find out more about that as we continue into chapter 27. So Isaac blesses Jacob. When Isaac was old and his eyes were dim so that he could not see, he called Esau, his older son, and said to him, "My son." And he answered, "Here I am." He said, "Behold, I am old. I do not know the day of my death. Now then, take your weapons, your quiver, and your bow, and go out to the field and hunt game for me, and prepare for me delicious food, such as I love, and bring it to me, so that I may eat, that my soul may bless you before I die." Now Rebekah was listening when Isaac spoke to his son Esau. So when Esau went to the field to hunt for game and bring it, Rebekah said to her son Jacob, "I heard your father speaking to your brother Esau. Bring me game and prepare for me delicious food that I may eat it and bless you before the Lord before I die. Now therefore, my son, obey my voice as I command you. Go to the flock and bring me 2 good young goats so that I may prepare from them delicious food for your father, such as he loves. And you shall bring it to your father to eat so that he may bless you before he dies." But Jacob said to Rebekah, his mother, "Behold, my brother Esau is a hairy man, and I am a smooth man. Perhaps my father will feel me and shall seem to be mocking him and bring a curse upon myself and not a blessing." His mother said to him, "Let your curse be on me, my son. Only obey my voice and go, bring them to me." So he went and took them and brought them to his mother, and his mother prepared delicious food, such as his father loved. Then Rebekah took the best garments of Esau, her older son, which were with her in the house, and put them on Jacob, her younger son. And the skins of the young goats she put on his hands and on the smooth part of his neck. And she put the delicious food and the bread which she had prepared into the hand of her son Jacob. So he went into his father and said, "My father." And he said, "Here I am. Who are you, my son?" Jacob said to his father, "I am Esau, your firstborn. I have done as you told me. Now sit up and eat of my game, that your soul may bless me." But Isaac said to his son, "How is it that you have found it so quickly, my son?" He answered, "Because the Lord your God granted me success." Then Isaac said to Jacob, "Please come near that I may feel you, my son, to know whether you are really my son Esau or not." So Jacob went near to Isaac his father, who felt him and said, "The voice is Jacob's voice, but the hands are the hands of Esau." And he did not recognize him because his hands were hairy like his brother Esau's hands. So he blessed him. He said, "Are you really my son Esau?" He answered, "I am." Then he said, "Bring it near to me that I may eat of my son's game and bless you." So he brought it near to him, and he ate, and he brought him wine, and he drank. Then his father Isaac said to him, "Come near and kiss me, my son." So he came near and kissed him, and Isaac smelt the smell of his garments and blessed him and said, "See the smell of my son, as is the smell of a field that the Lord has blessed. May God give you the dew of heaven and the fatness of the earth, and plenty of grain and wine. Let people serve you and nations bow down to you. Be Lord over your brothers, and may your mother's sons bow down to you. Cursed be everyone who curses you, and blessed be everyone who blesses you." As soon as Isaac had finished blessing Jacob, when Jacob scarcely gone out from the presence of Isaac his father, Esau his brother came in from his hunting. He also prepared delicious food and brought it to his father. And he said to his father, "Let my father arise and eat of his son's game, that you may bless me." His father, Isaac, said to him, "Who are you?" He answered, "I am your son, your firstborn, Esau." Then Isaac trembled very violently and said, "Who was it then that hunted game and brought it to me, and I ate it all before you came? And I have blessed him. Yes, and he shall be blessed." As soon as Esau heard the words of his father, he cried out with an exceedingly great and bitter cry, and said to his father, "Bless me, even also, O my father." But he said, "Your brother came deceitfully, and he has taken away your blessing." Esau said, "Is he not rightly named Jacob? For he has cheated me these 2 times. He took away my birthright, and behold, now he has taken away my blessing." Then he said, "Have you not reserved a blessing for me?" Isaac answered and said to Esau, "Behold, I have made him lord over you, and all his brothers I have given to him for servants, and with grain and wine I have sustained him. What then can I do for you, my son?" Esau said to his father, "Have you but one blessing, my father? Bless me, even me also, O my father." And Esau lifted up his voice and wept. Then Isaac his father answered and said to him, "Behold, away from the fatness of the earth shall your dwelling be, and away from the dew of heaven on high. But your sword you shall By your sword you shall live, and you shall serve your brother. But when you grow restless, you shall break his yoke from your neck." Now Esau hated Jacob because of the blessing with which his father had blessed him. And Esau said to himself, "The days of mourning for my father are approaching. Then I will kill my brother Jacob." But the words of Esau, her older son, were told to Rebekah. So she sent and called Jacob, her younger son, and said to him, "Behold, your brother Esau comforts himself about you by planning to kill you. Now therefore, my son, obey my voice. Arise, flee to Laban my brother in Haran, and stay with him a while, until your brother's anger turns away from you, and he forgets what you have done to him. Then I will send and bring you from there. Why should I bereave of you both in one day?" Then Rebekah said to Isaac, "I loathe my life because of the Hittite women. If Jacob marries one of the Hittite women like these, one of the women of the land, what good will life be to me?" Ooh, guys, it is 27 is packed. So first, I think this chapter, outside of just the drama of the full chapter that I'm not really going to dive deeper into, I want to dive into the structure of this chapter, because I think it really speaks to just family and the messiness of family, the way that if you grow up in a divisive home, in this particular scenario, each parent clearly has their favorite. And because they have their favorite, they're now pushing one against the other. We can see, if we start by looking at verse 5 and verse 6, the terms that the Bible uses. It says, "Now Rebekah was listening when Isaac spoke to his son Esau." And then we see in verse 6, Rebekah said to her son Jacob. It's interesting that both of these boys are their children collectively, but the favoritism is so strong that the Bible has to use these terms to let us know that that is how strong the favoritism was in their family at that particular point. It's sad because now you have young boys that are growing up in a home where, as we've seen so far, Jacob is trying to always one-up Esau, trying to be the older brother, trying to be the person that takes the blessing. And it seems like he just may be ultimately fighting for the attention of his father, because it doesn't seem like Isaac is giving him the attention that he's due as his son. And when you look at it from that perspective, it, for me, really brings the humanity out of the chapter when we look at it from that lens, that as a parent, we have to be mindful of, especially if we have more than one child, how we're treating the child. How are we making both siblings feel loved and feel supported and feel cared for, versus prioritizing one over the other, because ultimately it does result in a sibling rivalry. So as we continue to read through chapter 27, we know that Jacob eventually dresses up as Esau. Although he doesn't disguise his voice, he continues to speak in his normal speaking voice, which throws off Isaac for a little bit. But once he leans in closer, he feels the arms and he smells the scent of Esau on the clothing that Jacob is wearing. He's convinced that, okay, this is Esau, and he blesses him. And as we saw, it was, I'd say, very emotional, because you can see that when Esau actually comes back into the room and he's like, hey, I brought the food, I'm ready to be blessed. And Isaac is like, hey, who are you? We can see in verse 32, after Isaac asked him, who are you? He answered, I'm your son Esau. Verse 33, Isaac trembled very violently and said, who was it then that hunted game and brought it to me? And I ate it all before you came, and I have blessed him. The trembling violently, we know, just given the context, that Isaac is already up in age. He's already old. He is close to death. And to have him tremble violently because of the deception that Jacob and Rebekah decided to pull, it's just sad. It is sad, and it really speaks to the construct of having a unified family. And I know that back in these days, when we think about family, it was very traditional for the older son to have the birthright and to be the one, as we've seen laid out in this story, that has the foresight, and he's essentially serving as the forerunner for the family in terms of siblings. If you're the older one, you are essentially it. But as we saw earlier, when Rebekah was pregnant, God already said that the younger shall be basically the older one, and that the older one is going to serve the younger one. And to actually see that play out speaks to our all-knowing Father, speaks to the fact that he knew the trickery that was going to come about with the way Jacob was going to essentially make Esau serve him. We can see in verse 38, Esau said to his father, have you but one blessing, my father? Bless me, even me also, my father. And Esau lifted up his voice and wept. And as we see in verse 41, Esau hated Jacob because of the blessing with which his father had blessed him. And Esau said to himself, the days of mourning for my father are approaching. Then I will kill my brother Jacob. It's gotten to the point within the sibling relationship that he feels the spirit of sin, and he's planning to kill Jacob. So that was the main thing that I got from verse 27, essentially just focusing on the family construct and making sure that we, as we read the word and its eternal truths, are cognizant of how we are treating our family, how we are treating those that we love, because we don't want to inundate our children with the thought that you matter more than the other. And we also don't want any inter-sibling rivalries either. Chapter 28, Jacob sent to Laban. Then Isaac called Jacob and blessed him and directed him, you must not take a wife from the Canaanite women. Arise, go to Padan Aram to the house of Bethuel, your mother's father, and take as your wife from there one of the daughters of Laban, your mother's brother. God Almighty bless you and make you fruitful and multiply you, that you may become a company of peoples. May he give you blessing. May he give the blessing of Abraham to you and to your offspring with you, that you may take possession of the land of your sojournings that God gave to Abraham. Thus Isaac sent Jacob away. He went to Padan Aram to Laban, the son of Bethuel the Aramean, the brother of Rebekah, Jacob's and Esau's mother. Esau marries an Ishmaelite. Now Esau saw that Isaac had blessed Jacob and sent him away to Padan Aram to take a wife from there, and that as he blessed him, he directed him, "You must not take a wife from the Canaanite women," and that Jacob had obeyed his father and his mother and gone to Padan Aram. So when Esau saw that the Canaanite women did not please Isaac his father, Esau went to Ishmael and took as a wife, besides the wives he had, Malif, the daughter of Ishmael, Abraham's son, the sister of Nebaioth. Jacob's dream. Jacob left Beersheba and went toward Haran, and he came to a certain place and stayed there that night, because the sun had set. Taking one of the stones of the place, he put it under his head and lay down in that place to sleep. And he dreamed, and behold, there was a ladder set up on the earth, and the top of it reached to heaven. And behold, the angels of God were ascending and descending on it. And behold, the Lord stood above it and said, "I am the Lord, the God of Abraham, your father, and the God of Isaac. The land on which you lie I will give to you and to your offspring. Your offspring shall be like the dust of the earth, and you shall spread abroad to the west and to the east and to the north and to the south. And in you and your offspring shall all the families of the earth be blessed. Behold, I am with you and will keep you wherever you go, and will bring you back to this land, for I will not leave you until I have done what I have promised you." Then Jacob awoke from his sleep and said, "Surely the Lord is in this place, and I did not know it." And he was afraid and said, "How awesome is this place! This is none other than the house of God, and this is the gate to heaven." So early in the morning, Jacob took the stone that he had put under his head and set it up for a pillar and poured oil on top of it. He called the name of the place Bethel, but the name of the city was Luz at the first. Then Jacob made a vow, saying, "If God will be with me and will keep me in this way that I go, and will give me bread to eat and clothing to wear, so that I come again to my father's house in peace, then the Lord shall be my God, and this stone which I have set up for a pillar shall be God's house, and all of it that you give me, I will give a full tenth to you." So chapter 28, there are just a couple things that I want to call out. The first one is coming from Esau marries an Ishmaelite. So really everything from verse 6 all the way down to verse 9. It's very sad. Like, the favoritism has gotten to a point where I don't think that Isaac or Rebekah ever articulated to Esau the level of grief that the Bible tells us that was brought on them by Esau marrying the women that he married. If you remember back in chapter 26, verse 34, that's kind of where we see the Bible initially hint at the fact that Rebekah and Isaac do not like that Esau married women that were of the Hittite land. And so here we see in chapter 28 that Esau saw that Isaac had blessed Jacob and sent him away to take a wife from there because he did not want him to take a wife among the Canaanite women. And because of that, he saw in verse 8 that the Canaanite women did not please Isaac his father. So he went to Ishmael and took a wife there besides the wives that he already had. And it just speaks to the fact that as parents, as a human, and even if you're not a parent, just as a human in general, the ability to clearly articulate your standards, clearly articulate things that are okay with you or are not okay with you, because there's always going to be someone that is looking for you for approval. They're looking to you to give them the thumbs up or give them the green light. And it's very sad that Esau has to get that by just watching. And I get that Esau at this point, of course, is clearly a grown man. Every character that we're looking at now, from Jacob to Esau to Rebekah to Isaac, they're all very, very grown. But it's still the fact that had someone told Esau, things might have been different for him. And I would encourage you that when you have your dealings, whether it's with family, with your kids, with whomever, that you prioritize dealing in the full truth, because even half truths, as we can see littered throughout the entire story from Abraham down to Isaac, half truths do nothing but hurt people in the long run. So the other thing that I wanted to mention about chapter 28 is going to come from verse 16, where it says, "Then Jacob awoke from his sleep and said, 'Surely the Lord is in this place, and I did not know it.'" That blew me away, because it's like, how many times has God been in a space and in a place with us and we just do not know, whether it's because of our ignorance, because we are allowing the problem to speak so loudly to where we can't even see that God is in this place. But it is such a beautiful thing to have been reading this and to have Jacob experience God in a dream and to say, God is clearly in this place. He knows it and he feels it, and it is awesome to have heard him state that. So those were the two major things that I wanted to bring out of chapter 28, and I will see you guys tomorrow for the next chapter. Bye, guys. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. I hope that you found some value out of this content. If you did, please leave me a rating or review wherever you are listening. This would mean the world to me. I'd also love to hear from you on social media. Please feel free to reach out on Twitter at His Eternal Word, the number 1. And also please feel free to reach out to me on Instagram as well at His Eternal Word. Visit our website at www.hiseternalword.com, and I hope you stay tuned for the next episode.